comes when we speak of core benefit, that it helps us in transportation. If we speak of expected product, then we will say that we expect it to be in more colors, more like shapes, or it should give us more comfort. The sole should be a different type. Similarly, augment may we would be expecting different kind of neon light if we want in our soul. But if we speak of core, then we only want it for basic need like transportation and
Got it. I think all of you got what Prerna is trying to hint, that yes, any product would have a core benefit built into it. Isn't it? Arijit?
Basic product
Just listen to me. At what point will you start looking at, the expected to the augmented part?
When
What
it
is
satisfies the
expected
basic
product is?
needs, like when it satisfies the basic needs, then we can go for the augmented product, like for customized product, like the way we want.
Before augmentation, there is a expected product. What is that expected product? Yes, Arjit.
sir, any when a product is like expected product is something that is regarded by the customer for buying, like it has certain criteria that are considered, that those tick marks are considered, so that it's considered for buying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you do a kind of a study, you really, as Ajay was telling, that you assess the demand. This is what the customer expectations are. If you say footwear, they would expect whatever XYZ parameters, attributes, right, or features. Now, which one is given more weightage? You have to do a weighted kind of a study and to understand what is the expected product. That means what? If you do not give that, your product will fail. Yes? So I would say, if you look into the core and the base part, those are like any many Me Too products. Others are already there. Right? When it comes to the expected part, you have to align that along the lines of what the customer expects, and that depends on what kind of communication you are sending regarding that, or what your research development people have taken into account while preparing this. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
When it goes to augmented part, you are looking into the value addition. That comes as what we call in our terms as product differentiation. Have you heard of this word?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? And as you go into the potential product, it talks about the futuristic perspective that your product should be looking at, given the scale of operation of the kind of ecosystem you're in, the kind of markets you're looking at, how dispersed your target segments are. Of course, today, thankfully, because of you have a digital component built into your marketing strategy, you will find that the interaction between the marketer and the customer is more empowered today. We are also looking into a very strong customer engagement program. So by doing that, we're able to push. Now understand, as time goes, some of the factors which are augmented today will be pushed to expected, right? And some potential thing will come to augmentation. That cycle will keep on going up and up and up. That's what the product level strategy has to basically tells you, that as a manager, as a marketing manager dealing with products, you have to constantly look into how to revamp your product time and again. You look at any product category, whether it's FMCG, whether it is consumer durables, or whether it is your, the cars or bikes or whatever. Unless you innovate, you perish in today's market. Why? Because the customer needs are dynamic, or wants are dynamic, right? So as a marketer, how to keep tabs of that and how would you push it into your product is the single most important factor. So in other words, we talk about how the products need to be differentiated. Before we go to that, let's look at the classification. How do you classify products? This is a very simple classification. Durable, non-durable, and services, right? In consumer category, depending upon how the consumer behaves, you can further convert them into, classify them into convenience goods. This we have done already in the consumer behavior class. I remember that in semester 1 we had done that. Remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what would be the
Yes.
convenience goods? What do you
Sir,
understand by
FMCG.
sir, all the
What is
FMCG products, sir,
Ashim?
like
Yeah, Prerna, just a sec.
atta, sir, atta, maida.
That's fine. Just hold on. Just hold on. That is fine. You can name the product categories. But what is the in terms of behavior? What do you see? The behavior becomes the point of distinction across all these products.
So the behavior
Yes,
is creating the differentiation, right? You meant to say that, right?
Yeah. So what is that behavior? In
Like
case of convenience goods, what kind of a behavior does a consumer show? You are doing consumer
Everyday
behavior.
purchase.
Voluntary.
Doesn't think before buying it.
Sorry,
Consumer doesn't think before buying it.
doesn't think means you want to say the effort that is put in, right?
Yeah, effort.
So the effort is less. Why is it less? As
Because it is a
Prerna said,
need.
certain product categories, why that effort is less?
Because it is a
Because-
need.
Sir,
So because
it is
those are
sir,
day
those
to day
products.
needs.
Those are day-to-day
Sir,
needs, and
they
those are-
have they sir because they have the demand already. Like they are demanded in any given point of time. It's like
that is
it's not that.
hygiene. You see, these are hygiene products. That means what? To keep you going, right?
Yes.
Reusable. What happens to the shelf life? What is the shelf life of such goods? High, low.
Very
Sir,
high.
No.
very high.
Hello.
It is extremely low. It doesn't stay. It
Yes,
churns
sir,
out
very low.
faster because there is a repurchase. You will see when you visit any retail stores, even in a day, if you go to let's say big bazaar, not big bazaar, you can go to any of the grocery stores which are there, whether it is in a hypermarket or whatever. You will find there will be store managers who are looking. If you see the planning boards, they will have they will write staples. They use a word called staples, right, for such products. You also have other product category. What we call, when you go to retail, you will come across merchandise assortments, right? So convenience goods come in those product categories where you need to give maximum amount of replenishment, right? So if you're having a warehouse, your stock level, your inventory levels have to be mapped according to the number of customers who are coming. That's an estimation that you do, right? And you have to hold on to those kind of stocks. So convenience goods, as the name suggests, it is conveniently, that means as you rightly pointed out, less amount of time invested, but the customer does not think much. It is a low inward purchase. Heard of it?
Yes, sir.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So inward purchase
Yes, sir.
मतलब क्या होता है? From your need recognition till you point that the involvement is very, very fast. You just get into what we call as the do, then feel, and then learn, maybe. Right? वो learn feel do वाला जो sequence है, it need not be always followed. Because in your past experiences, you have already learned things. That is why you jump immediately. The moment you feel a need for that, you immediately take a decision. That is why convenience goods, the shelf life is very short. The stocks have to be replenished. So if you are dealing with a situation like this with an FMCG interview, we'll ask you what kind of product category is this? You say it's a convenient good, it's a staples. So hence there would be more of stocks required there. Coming to shopping goods, moderate. Their effort is moderate compared to the, let's say, apparels, right? Your footwears, for example, you don't, the frequency is not that high. And as you move up, specialty, it is far less. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And unsought, what are unsought goods? What kind of products come under that category?
Sir, these goods are basically those goods which we did not have any plan of purchasing, but it may be generated with an impulse.
Mhm.
And
Like Can you share
Sir,
some
for-
examples?
yes, sir. For example, if I go to
Insurance.
chai ka tapri to have tea or any snacks, there is a transparent fridge refrigerator जिसमें cold drinks रखा जाता है. I have no intention to buy the cold drinks.
No. Prerna, that is not that. Unsought goods, as somebody who said the
Insurance.
insurance. Do you seek insurance? तुम चाहते हो कि मेरे मरने के बाद, अरे मरने के बाद किसने देखा है? Do you seek that? For example, pharmaceutical products. Do you seek pharmaceutical products? तुम चाहते हो तुम बीमार हो?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Accidental causes.
All your, even those kind of like funeral services, in some cases funeral services are given. They don't seek. Those are unsought goods or services, right? So the customer would not make any effort, but then it is situation that would drive them. Am I clear? And selling such kind of, if you're dealing with such healthcare, we always talk about healthcare. Yes, we are trying to put some money and try to take care of our health, but at the same time, do we want such kind of goods? We don't want that. We are forced under the constraints.
सर बट मेडिसिन कैसे अनसॉर्ट हो सकता है? वो तो
You tell me ना, तुम मेडिसिन खाना चाहती हो क्या?
सर बट हम
Consider
तो
that you
रखते
are
हैं
normal.
घर में, इमरजेंसी के लिए घर में रखते हैं.
हाँ, but ask somebody, do you want to take medicines? The basic question I'm asking
No,
you.
no, sir.
That is where it's unsought.
Yes, a rational person would not want to take any medicine.
Correct. Absolutely. समझ गए? Is that clear to you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Then we go to industrial categories. I think that is fairly clear to you. You've already seen that in B2B. You must have come across this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you'll find that raw material, parts, capital items, installation, equipment, जहाँ पे services होती हैं, your products have to be installed, softwares have to be installed. Then you also have to train people. So that is the service part of it. But then that is also clubbed under the industrial goods category, right? So this is the product classification. Let's move to differentiation. Product differentiation can happen across all these. You should be aware of all these things. Please don't ask me what they are. But I would like to understand one thing. What do you understand by the term conformance? How do you differentiate a product from conformance? What do you mean by conformance? Eh?
Soumya, close your mic.
समझ में क्या नहीं आ रहा है तुमको सौम्या?
सर वो कुछ और
क्या
बात कर
समझ
रही
में नहीं
होगी.
आ रहा है? ये सब चीजें तुमने पढ़ी होगी MM1, MM2 में, MM2 में पढ़ी होगी. I'm just revisiting that.
So my mic is off.
Soumya Shifalika, Soumya, not Soumya Singh.
Shifalika said that, I think, समझ में नहीं आ रहा है.
Yes.
देखो तुमको समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. I am ready to give you whatever information you want, but आपको पढ़ के आना पड़ेगा, right? What is conformance?
So like the performance
सर
standard.
डोमिनोज बोलता है कि हम 30 मिनट्स में पिज्जा दे देंगे, वो हमको कंफर्मेंस दिला रहे हैं कि 30 मिनट्स में पिज्जा डिलीवरी कर देंगे, वरना रिफंड मिल जाएगा आपको. So that is the kind of conformance a company or organization gives to its
So
customers.
you must have seen every product tries to conform or try to promise you on certain things, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
So,
sir.
so that's a standard that you maintain. So if you're not able to meet that, that means what, you're unable to differentiate. Understand, in case most of the products, they try to differentiate one from the other. We talk about automobiles, talk about consumer electronics, anybody. No two technology can be matched. But what makes a difference is that the kind of standards that you maintain, right? So when you define that my product is able to give this, and you are raising expectations, you're conforming to certain things, your product has to conform to that. Otherwise, it will fall short of expectations of the customer and it will fail, right? What is design? Why design is so important? Just now we talked about it.
So for the look and feel of the product,
Mm-hmm.
sir, अगर
Current reality, what needs to be looked into in today's market from design perspective?
packaging,
Okay. Why packaging?
सर बिकॉज अगर वो अट्रैक्टिव नहीं होगा, अपीलिंग टू द आई नहीं होगा, कस्टमर खरीदेगा ही नहीं, डर
Yeah,
होगा.
can be. Yes, our all sort of mobile phones, you must have seen, will come to packaging. Yes, there is something called design thinking. You must have heard of it.
Yes, sir.
In today's market, you are getting tons and tons of information, and they are trying to look into what kind of inputs are coming from various people. You are assembling the data and trying to work out what could be the possible innovations you want to build into your product so that it can be more differentiated. Now, this is a ongoing cycle. It does not end in one. That is why perhaps you see today when you talk about electric vehicle, Tesla started it. It is not ending with that. It keeps on changing that cycle again and again, which means what? Your R&D needs to be oriented towards this. Has to be
Sir,
sensitive.
can
Yeah.
we consider designing a part of augmentation only? Like it's also creating an
Yes, it is an
Like
I
Samsung
would say it's
Flip.
a potential part. It's a potential part,
So
right?
like Samsung Flip.
Correct. So you'll find that it's an ongoing process. But earlier it was considered intermittently, but today it is an ongoing process, right? And today, thanks to the kind of opening of the digital media space, the interactivity has increased significantly. Things have become more transparent also. And you must have heard of co-creation, right? Customer
Yes, sir.
co-creation. Customers are willing to come part and take part in the designing of certain products and services. So might as well do that. Look at IKEA, that's what they do. And they're able to pass on the benefits.
So Legos also does this.
Yeah, plenty. So, and for luxury, you'll find luxury brands which demands a premium. These kind of differentiation takes up almost a kind of a intangible aspects. Products will have tangible and some intangible components also. Intangible are mostly services which are associated. And when you deal with luxury brands, you will find it is mostly the lifestyle orientation, the VALS classification. Remember the VALS classification that we did? Values and lifestyles.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go.
There are
But
two
earlier,
classifications
yeah.
here. VALS
Yeah.
classification. So it
But,
helps you to identify what kind of target customers like what kind of products as far as luxury is concerned, and who should be targeted for the luxury brands.
Yes, sir. With high income, you have mentioned it. High income, low income. Like if they belong to certain categories, that
Correct.
balance method.
Okay. So service dimensions is mostly when you're trying to differentiate, it will be mostly on ordering. How easy is it to order today? It's very easy today. Today online sources, and you find that a hybrid model which is coming up, you will find that the service dimensions will be a far more differentiator than the product. See, the products can be matched, but service dimensions are you cannot patent them, right? You can copyright them to a certain extent, but you cannot take away it will be easily copied. So service dimension comes as the major differentiator for most of the companies, right? And if you see here, there is always an involvement of the people in augmenting the value proposition, right? Okay, let's not spend time. Let's move to another part. I think all of you know this.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Product means क्या होता है? Assortment. Assortment means what is the total number of products that is being offered, right? It has a dimension. It has got 4 dimensions. The width, length, depth and consistency. Width का मतलब क्या है?
सर प्रोडक्ट वेट होती है कितने सारे प्रोडक्ट है मतलब लाइक मैगी का एग्जांपल लेते हैं
Product.
हाँ
Your
उसको
width
प्रोडक्ट
is
लाइन में
the
प्रोडक्ट
sum of all product lines.
सर
Product
हाँ
line
मैं
का
बता रहा
मतलब
था
क्या है?
सर प्रोडक्ट लाइन मतलब एक ब्रांड कितने सारे प्रोडक्ट ऑफर करता है लाइक मैगी का एग्जांपल सर एक ब्रांड कितने सारे प्रोडक्ट ऑफर करता है
What is a product line?
सर एक ब्रांड कितने प्रोडक्ट ऑफर करता है
एक ब्रांड नहीं है तो ब्रांड पे मत जाओ अभी प्रोडक्ट पे ही रहो
सर लाइक
प्रोडक्ट
मैगी
लाइन जैसे हॉर्लिक्स वो मिल्क पाउडर भी देता है, बिस्किट देता है,
सर नेस्ले चॉकलेट भी देता है मैगी भी देता है और क्या कहते हैं उसका अगर प्रोडक्ट और भी देखा जाए तो वो फॉर्मूला मिल्क भी देता है जो कि उसमें आ जाता है
ये सब तुमने ब्रांड बोल दिया मान लो यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द हेल्थ ड्रिंक इज अ kind of a product line. What does product line mean? You can club various products under that which meets the same kind of similar kind of requirements. Okay, that's what is the definition of a product line. Now When you look at the portfolio, you will be having, as you said, you'll be having number of products or brands, as you call them, but each brand has pertains to a particular product category. Now, product category can be, there will be multiple products. For example, soaps, detergents. There could be varied kind of brands within that, but they conform to one particular category. It could be the detergents or soaps or shampoos or oral care products. In case of an FMCG, in case of a consumer durable, it could be a television or a washing machine and so on and so forth. Did you get it? So the sum total,
Yes, sir.
the sum total of all these product lines will be the width. What is the length? Length is what was Ashim was question about.
And the length is like all the sizes it comes.
जितने ब्रांड्स
think-
आपके आ रहे हैं, सोप में कितने ब्रांड्स हैं, डिटर्जेंट में कितना है?
सोप में there are like different variety.
हाँ,
The variety.
वैरायटी तुम्हारा आ जाएगा व्हेन यू लुक इनटू द फ्लेवर्स वाला, वो उसमें डेप्थ में आएगा.
डेप्थ में होगा सर.
ठीक है,
सर तो साइजेस किस में आएंगे, लाइक डिफरेंट साइज जो प्रोवाइड करते हैं वो भी तो वो आएंगे ना
डिफरेंट
depth में,
साइजेस
sir?
जो है वो सब डेप्थ है. वेराइटीज
Right,
एंड
sir.
साइजेस विल कम इन डेप्थ.
Okay, sir.
ओके, whereas length will be सबका, सब प्रोडक्ट लाइंस का क्या क्या ब्रांड्स हैं, सब टोटल. मान लो आपका 6, you got 6 product lines. Each product line में there are 20 brands which you have offered. So you have to sum it up all divided by the number of your product lines. That will give you the average length of your product mix. Depth कहाँ पे है? As you rightly pointed out, मान लो noodles का छोटा पैक, बड़ा पैक, that is one. Other one is the varieties which you are getting.
सर डिफरेंट फ्लेवर्स जो होता है हम लोग
Different
basically
flavors
उससे-
होता है. Very good. That's how you do it. What is consistency?
सर लाइक एक प्रोडक्ट.
See, it's very important from a marketer's perspective. जब आप product mix पे काम करते हो, you've got to understand that okay, I can get into different product lines, but how relative will be this to this? My current, because here understand one thing. If you remember, we talked about the capability of an organization. That is called the core competency. आप कितने competent हो? What is your capability? Can you go from detergents to soaps, or can you go from your soups to noodles or noodles to ketchup? Do you have that kind of capacities? And are they relatable or they are not relatable? जहां पे relatable होगा वो उसमें consistent होगा, right? But if you have a completely different product category if you are getting into, which you call as unrelated diversification, remember?
यस सर.
तो क्या होगा? महिंद्रा से महिंद्रा क्लब हॉलीडेज,
टोटली डिफरेंट.
totally different. ITC, hotels and your FMCG products, totally different. उसमें consistency का कम होगा, right? So managing such a portfolio would be, you have to plan out more effectively. फिर आपको you have to get down to the product level. That's why you find in big companies there are product level verticals. होता है ना, जैसे कोलगेट में ओरल केयर, पर्सनल हाइजीन.
Sir, like PepsiCo also make beverages, cold beverages, and it also make a potato chip. So
Correct.
consistency उसकी तो ज्यादा होगी या थोड़ी कम
होगी, मॉडरेट होगी, क्योंकि वो लोग रिलेटेबल एरिया में है.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Now understand, the degree of consistency depends upon your decision to where you want to grow. That is why it has to be aligned to the growth strategies. समझ में आ रही है बात?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move further.
Sir, could you explain product line once again?
Product line, तुम बोलो, give me an example of a product line.
Sir, Horlicks का biscuit, Horlicks का health drink.
Horlicks क्या है? It's a health drink.
हाँ.
So health drink is the
Okay.
Product line.
It is the core product line.
yeah. Health drink is the product line. Within that you may have Horlicks, you may have some other
Asha,
things.
Horlicks, women's Horlicks.
हाँ,
and-
वो सब
Okay, so that comes under product line.
product line. It all come under product line.
बोला सर वो तो प्रोडक्ट तो ग्लैक्सो का है ना, तो ग्लैक्सो का प्रोडक्ट लाइन में हॉर्लिक्स आता है.
Correct, correct. Is that Ashim? Is that clear to you?
Yes sir. Prerna
Prerna?
that question.
Yes, sir, I got it, sir. I got it.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
देखो,
sir,
जिसको
clear as
problem
glass, sir.
है, जिसको problem है, you can come to me to my cabin. I'll tell you. That's not an issue. Okay, let's move fast. Let's look into strengthening the. How would you go for the product line analysis? इसमें क्या होता है? What now you have got product mix, you have got an assortment. अब उसको किस तरह से analysis करोगे? In some cases there will be growth. In some cases there will be a rejection. There will be some kind of revamping required. So for that you have to get into something called line stretching. You already know about this. I would like you to all of you to go through your books again. What is line stretching? In some cases you add on features. In some cases you delete the features. So that's what it is. Upward stretch, downward stretch, and dual stretch. There are examples, ample number of examples given. Right?
The stretching would call the economy of scope, no?
Sorry?
The stretching of product line will called as economy of scope.
Economic of scope, yeah, because see, when you are stretching something, you are if it is into the product line, it will not be so much of a scope until unless you get into the line extension part. When you get into line extension में क्या होता है कि you extend the brand across the product line. ठीक है ना? Line stretching में क्या होता है? You add or delete. उसमें ज़्यादा it does not impact your, if you look into your bottom lines, your value chain remains more or less the same. You can leverage out of it, right? But if you're moving beyond that, and you start completely new product, that's where you get into line filling. That's where you're going to face a major change in your strategies. मान लो तो market में हो, you are there with a particular, let's say, scooty. TVS Scooty Pep Plus. You are adding certain features and you're introducing those products in the market. उसमें तुम्हारा bottom line कुछ ज़्यादा change हो रहा है? हाँ होगा. There will be some changes, but not much. If you're doing a line filling exercise, you say, okay, in two-wheelers, I will also get into EVs. I will also get into the upward scale products within the bike segment. उसमें क्या होगा? It will be a line filling activity. Thereby, what will happen to your value chain? You need to have more resources. Remember the value chain process? याद है value chain कैसा दिखता है?
Yes, sir.
Yes sir.
Yeah? If you see
Yes,
the components, the primary elements which are there, will it be more under stress when you are going for a line filling or not? You have to allocate more resources. Whether it's technology, whether it's manpower, whether you have to procurement in everything, right from raw materials to technical know-how to your suppliers, everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
And what is pruning? Pruning is weeding out the weak products. There is a particular way in which you weed out the products also. Please go through that. There are some products which have been taken out. You may want to get out of it. You don't want to stay in that. N number of examples are there.
Sir, जैसे Pepsi Atom.
Yeah, correct. They have to stop it.
और वो सर कोको कोला का ब्लू वनीला कोक कुछ आया था वो
Correct.
चला नहीं मार्केट में.
चला नहीं मार्केट में. हो सकता है कहीं और मार्केट में चल जाए तो you put it there.
Yes, sir.
Right. So it's what you do with your product line analysis, and accordingly, ये तब होता है when you don't do your homework well, when you don't understand what your market trends are. That's where you face into this kind of a situation. कभी कभी होता है कि the customers also become matured, they grow, they evolve. As a result, they don't need the same product again, so they are matured. So giving that same product might just not be feasible. So you may have to weed it out. That's called a pruning process. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Packaging and labeling, I think all of you know these are some of the things which I've taken from your book itself. Packaging and labeling, they are called the silent salesperson. Why?
Sir, because it gives the information of the product, sir. There all the relevant information that are available.
सर
I
क्योंकि
can't
पैकेजिंग देख के ही कस्टमर खरीदता है प्रोडक्ट.
Just now,
Will you-
Prerna talked about packaging. When you
Yes,
look into a watch, when you put it into a unique packaging or in a very, very ugly packaging? What is the difference? The product is the same.
So we will go for the better looking packaging and not the ugly looking, no matter how good the inside product
And then
is.
more informative packaging also. Like if we are going to have something, we tend to go for the more informative packaging
Correct,
that will
correct.
provide more information about the product, especially
Absolutely,
the visual
absolutely.
one.
Like for example, even in a 2 rupees biscuit, like a tiger, you will find they will give you information about what is the constituent of ingredients of each of those packets. Each biscuit में कितना जाता है, and they have to be stamped, right? All these help you to enhance all these factors which influences self-service, consumer affluence, company and brand image, innovation opportunity. Packaging may you see n number of innovations happening. You must have seen the Nescafe reusable packs.
Yes, sir.
In case of your razors, right? Your Gillette has undergone a sea change when it went for blister packaging, right?
सर ये सब तो प्रोडक्ट ऑगमेंटेशन के अंदर ही है, पैकेजिंग का तो जितना भी सारा शो करे वो प्रोडक्ट ऑगमेंटेशन के पार्ट है।
नहीं वो तो है, लेकिन तुम अगर पैकेजिंग को इनोवेट नहीं करोगे तो वो तुमको ये कहां से होगा? तुम देखोगे दो प्रोडक्ट्स व्हिच आर हैंगिंग इन द रिटेल काउंटर्स.
यस
रिमेंबर द जिलेट प्रेस्टो?
यस सर,
या उसको डिस्प्ले करके ही तुम लोग यू कैन, अदरवाइज इफ यू कीप इट इनटू अ शेल्फ नोबडी विल टेक इट आल्सो. एंड इफ यू सी द they are mostly put near the cash counters,
यस
just like the chocolates.
And the cigarette also.
So you can always innovate. You must have seen dispensers, product dispensers. There's always an opportunity to innovate. Labeling, on the other hand, obviously it talks about the identifier, describer, and you're mandated by law also. Some cases that the tags are very well designed. In case of your, they have to give you the relevant information. In case of your pharmaceutical products, even in case of normal, food items, they have to tell that whether it is a vegetable derivative or animal derivative or on all those things, right? Any kind of authority that needs to be done, what was the net grams, when it will expire, all these informations are mandated. And it is your duty, because as a part of a consumer right, somebody can sue you in the court of law if you don't put those. Right? So let's now, I think guarantee warranties, you all know what it is all about, so I don't want to waste more time over here. They are crucial for you to bring down the risk factors that customers feel, both in terms of functional risks as well as monetary risks. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And you know that in a difference, you already know, it's already been there. I will share this thing with you so you can always go through it. Let's move to strategic brand management. So now we are moving from product to, okay, in this you also have new product development. If you go to stages of a new product development, kahan pe kya hota hai, what is the brainstorming, how do you get into the brainstorming and come up with the idea, how the idea takes shape in form of a product prototype, how the product prototype is tested, how you, when you go for a market testing, how you simulate the entire market condition in a given market, depending upon the product category and your target segment. Test markets kahan pe select hota hai? Does it represent your target audience? Is it your market very spread out or is it very concentrated? Based on that, your new products are tested out and then you go for the commercialization. There's a complete, NPD as we call it. You need to, you have to go through. Right? Some of you must have gone through in your production and operations class also. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now let's move into brand. What do you understand by brand? Forget about what theory is. Brand का मतलब क्या है? And why branding is so critical today?
सर ब्रांड बेसिकली एक प्रोडक्ट ही बोलेंगे हम उसको, लाइक विच so which, I'm not getting the right word, which showcases or which highlights the whole purpose, the whole like the product in itself. Like for example, if I'm Nike, the name itself will give us an idea ki haan, this is a shoe brand. So we basically highlight our product and that's how we establish ourselves as a brand.
Okay. Suppose I tell you, you walk into a departmental store, right? And you find that your products, they don't have any packaging, all are in white, right? Black and white. Then you select what products you want. Will it be difficult? Will it be easy?
So it will be difficult because a brand helps any customer or consumer identify the product. Brand is the identity of the product. अगर brand ही नहीं होगा तो हम confuse हो जाएंगे कौन सा product लेंगे कैसे लेंगे.
Okay. In your family, your name is Prerna, right?
Yes.
You have other cousins who can be also be Prerna. Then what happens? Prerna 1, Prerna 2.
तो फिर तो सर brand extension हो गया ना.
ब्रांड एक्सटेंशन नहीं हुआ इसमें. इसमें क्या हो गया कि तुम्हारा यू आर अनेबल टू डिफरेंशिएट योरसेल्फ. तो तुमको कुछ ऐसा करना पड़ेगा, प्रेरणा कुमारी, या तो कुछ करना पड़ेगा, राइट? समथिंग यू कैन डू, or
Yes.
you cut out your name too. What I'm trying to give in a very simple reason how to brand people, right? So if you see our name itself is that we are branding ourselves in our family. क्यों कर रहे हैं? Why we are doing this?
Like to be differentiated from other member of the
Ajay, I can't hear you. Your voice is too shrill.
sir, to be more differentiated than the other members of the family.
Recognition, to identify. Simple.
Identified, differently identified.
हाँ सर मतलब the way we stand out
That's
from
what-
other members. How
That's
we are
what you're
different
doing
from
of your product or service, isn't it? You are attaching some logo, you are giving some name, you are giving some elements. Whatever the reason, I'm not getting into that. Why are you doing that? Because you want to associate with something so that it stands unique among the others. Right? उसके लिए सब मगजमारी होती है. You start getting to your creatives, you go back to your advertising agencies, try to see that, okay, who are you targeting, what will they like, consumer insights, वगैरह वगैरह, isn't it? And you say that क्या term उसको लगाएंगे, right? But ultimately करती क्या है, ये identification करवाती. But that is what was the preliminary idea with which, as Prerna said, that was a starting block for a product or a service, identification. But today's market, yes, identification हो गया, उसके बाद क्या? How does it lead to better profitability?
So by offering services that its products have.
That can be done in any case. And understand one thing, as just now we talked about pruning, there are products which will die
Yes
or
sir.
which will be taken out from the market. What happens to the brand then? Will the brand die also? Will you allow the brand to die as a market?
We will introduce new product in the market as per the need of the and the demand of the market.
Ajay, I can't hear you. It's getting too shrill. Can you please speak near to the?
Product and that would be more in demand. For example, if the product is just what because of no usage, they then shifted their production to mobile phone. After the implementation, product has more demand.
Okay. Yeah, see, that's the idea, that you are able to identify, you're able to talk more. In other words, you also spell out how are you different from others. You also tell them that why should they come to you. And they also promise something which talked about conformance, right? A brand always holds certain philosophy. There is a vision behind it. Right? So that's the punch. That's a basic thing. But then today, please understand, branding has also been described as a dialogue between the marketer and the customer. Do you agree to that?
Yes.
Yes sir.
How's the dialogue? How's the communication between the marketer and the customer happening through branding? You are using all your promotional channels.
सर जैसे कि हम कूपन्स देते हैं to our loyal customers. We give we have loyalty programs. We give them gift cards in Amazon to Prime members. Nykaa maybe, sir, if we are a Prime member, we get birthday month pay additional gifts. So that is how a brand communicates with its customer and retains them.
Over there, they want to retain your customers. That is why you are doing that.
So, but that is also in a way communication. So, वो communication भी तो होगा ना, sir? कि the brand is trying to communicate with me by giving me offers.
More like when Apple say that we provide privacy in all our products. In that case, the brand is talking to the consumer that if you buy any of our product, you have the surety of privacy.
Correct.
In any of our product. That's how brand will communicate to consumers.
Now, having said that, this privacy, how critical it is for all customers. Who is a price sensitive customer? Is it that important to them or not? An MI user, is privacy not important to them?
Privacy important.
So when you bring down the price points, you say I give you an affordable range. Yeah, what happened? Why only Ajay and Prerna are working? Rest of the people are in a slumber? Have they gone to sleep?
No, sir.
तो ज्यादा सुन रहे हो क्या?
They are trying to be better listener.
That's what you be, and then go to sleep.
What I was saying that after target the high paid and rich consumers who are have an ability to pay, and those consumers do not want cheap phone. They want something else which other people don't, like status symbol and privacy, because it's the rich people who actually care more about privacy than the normal middle class people comparatively. Not exactly.
So what you are saying, I am aligning my branding based on the consumer insights, and I am showcasing those which are the relevant points of differentiation.
Yes,
We
sir.
talk about brand positioning, right? We talk about
Yes, sir.
We talked about two things. One is a point of parity. What are you at par with? Today, a smartphone is no longer used for making
Calling,
calls.
sir.
Yes, Shweta?
Sir, like he said that it's only for the premium, like the rich people are concerned about the privacy. It's not about the rich people only. The people lower class and the middle class also are concerned
I
about
said comparatively they care about more about privacy than the middle class.
Shweta, I would like to bring a point here that it depends upon the kind of target segments that you're looking into. Some people, yes, the priority for the privacy is very high compared to others. So people try to trade off.
But
So when you are doing a segmentation exercise, you need to understand where will you trade off what and what will you offer.
But
Right?
sir, is there any proof to that? Like the rich people are more concerned about privacy. Is there any research stating that?
Maybe certain consumer insight studies will tell you, because I'm not privy to that information, but they may be. You never know.
So
But
actually, this was
that does not mean the other segment are not sensitive towards it. Okay, I get that point. But at the same time, when it comes to possessing this brand, it comes with a heavy price,
yes, sir.
right? Are they ready to take that premium off just to have privacy? That's where the sensitivity differs, right? Are you getting it, Shweta?
Yes, sir.
That's the willing. See, when you talk about brand equity, a term called brand equity, have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
What is that equity?
Added value.
ये added value होता कहाँ है? कहाँ से आता है? ये added value कहाँ से आता है? Where does this value come from?
So ये word of mouth या फिर promotion.
Oh, it comes from the self-realization of every consumer. The consumer decides. The consumer assigns it importance. Whether this particular thing that you're talking about is important to me and how important. Based on that, only you talk in terms of whether I will go for it or not go for it. Will I trade off? I will not trade off. If you have seen the kind of in online spaces, all of you are doing online purchases, right? And whenever you purchase, you will find the reviews. The research has shown, this is an HBR article that I'm quoting, it has shown that whenever you're in the online space, what matters in terms of, in fact, all these things that we're talking about, branding and all that has become less relevant. Why? Today, the dynamics of branding has significantly changed, and you guys have to understand this when you are dealing with brands in the marketplace. Because the consumer is no longer interfacing in the same way. He is looking at very, very specific information at the time when he's purchasing. So, are you there at the right time? Number one. Number two, what they're looking into. Because they are interfacing with you more and more today, they are able to vent out or they are able to relate to what kind of things that they're looking for. As a marketer, it is your duty to map what is it that you should have. Because understand, as I told you before also, the customer buys what's in it for me. As a marketer, have you done enough of your homework to understand that? Then comes the other thing. What logo, क्या बोलोगे, what kind of sales promotion will you do, क्या lucky coupons दोगे, पहले तो आए तो सही. First, he has to understand what you are trying to give. Are you getting me? And equity, please understand. Equity, as we say, where they see more value, you're right. But equity is often looked upon that whether the customer is able to get what he's trying to, what you have promised to them. And have you understood what you're trying, what they want? Have you that factored in? Number one, factoring it is one. Secondly, have you communicated that enough? So that's where your branding comes into play. So you use your branding elements, you use your logos, you whatever the names, the slogans, everything to accentuate that. Right? Is that clear to you guys?
Yes, sir. Brand value is
Brand value is a way by which you can measure
equity.
the equity.
Okay, got it.
NPV, the net present value of your brand today, given its past record. And what is its capability to generate profits in the future. For you as a person, for the firm, it is far more important because branding means a lot to lot many people. To consumer, it means, yes, meeting your expectation, right? The role of brand for consumers, as you can see here. But for the firm, it is that what will be profitable to me end of the day, which brand should I focus on? When I'm doing a portfolio analysis, I will also have to work out the entire logistics behind it. I have to understand what kind of, okay, when I do a branding, I get a safe thing that, okay, it's legally protected. So I'm saving myself from a lot of embarrassment in the marketplace. If I'm doing a lot of research and development, if I'm putting that legal sanctity for the brand, nobody can take it off immediately. And if you see, the more you engage with the customer, the more you are giving it, the customer perceives more, and your attachment, your emotional attachment with the customer is becoming more stronger and stronger. And that is what is driving the desire to buy or the desire to convert. And when that happens, at a certain point of time, you have to keep on keeping that relationship bond going. That is where the service component of your product comes into play. Today, we are not only talking about products as only standalone tangible products. You're doing service marketing, right? There's something called a tangibility spectrum. Every product has a service component, has an intangible component, and they become the differentiator. So when you align that with your brand, obviously the value, the perception of the brand is altogether different. And of course, today you tell them what you want, what they want, they will align with you, right? You will have loyalty. Once they come in, again, there is a problem of how to hold on to them, because your competition will always peg at you at your doorstep, and they will take away from, they may take them away from you. So you have to be sensitive to that as well. What is going on? There are brands which have been dormant in the marketplace despite having very good, ability to compete in the marketplace. Why? Because it was like Nokia's and all the ones which you talked about, right? Nokia was one of the point, it was the topmost brand in the world. And today where you see it? Others have come and taken. So it is not easy to always have that. If you become a market leader, you can maintain that market leadership with your brand. What you do with your brands, can you trade them off? When it comes to acquisitions of brands, you must know what your brand is worth today. So the brand value tells you what the worth is. There are different techniques of evaluating measuring the brand equity. There are several models which are there, which you will be going through. If you're going through PBM, obviously, if you want, I can tell you that, but we don't have enough time to do it. Is this clear to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And if you look in the scope of branding, you are not only, it's not who the product is, you're talking in terms of, you give it a name to identify, that's fine, that's bare minimum that you do. But you have to beef it up according to the product levels that we talked about some time back of augmentation. All has to be aligned with your product, your brand. Otherwise, your brand today will fail in the marketplace, and you put tons and tons of money into it, and companies don't like losing those brands in the marketplace. In the BCG matrix, right? You must have, you remember the BCG matrix, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you slot your brands, where are they? Which is the most revenue generating one? Should you have more in your portfolio? Should you have more of cash cows? Should you have more of stars? Can a dog be converted back into a problem child? That is where your understanding of the market and preparing yourself for the marketing strategies comes into play. Right? This I will not spend more time here. I will go to something. Customer brand equity. Why strong brands have marketing advantage? I think this is pretty simple. I will switch over to, these are some of the equity models that you should be aware of. At least basically you should be aware of. This is called a brand asset valuator model. Brand resonance model is something which we go through. These two models we go through, and the last one, ACRS model, we go through in the course. But you also have brands. Brands dynamics is a pyramid where it talks about every brand talks in terms of how the consumer is getting focused. Please understand that. Because you have to have customer as your center of in terms of your engagement programs. Right? So whichever equity model that you follow, you will find there is something called customer centricity. Right? Each one looks at the equity in a different way. But what is an equity? Equity is the added edge that you get by associating with certain parameters. Some parameters may be assets, some may be liability. So with your products and with your brands, what are the parameters which are assets? For example, in case of ACRS model, we talk in terms of brand awareness. Brand awareness is the basic thing. In resonance model is the same thing again. Resonance model is known as the consumer-based brand equity model. It starts off with what is the awareness construct? कौन कितने बार मेरे में जानता है? We talked about recognition and identification. How many times would you have to convert that, the recognition into the next step, which is your what am I? Once people recognize you, they will try to see that, okay, what you are. Whether then the customer talks about whether they wouldn't consider you. I may have something in my mind. I'm very fascinated by your communication, but is it necessary for me? So again, your brand communications comes to the fore in terms of how compelling your communication is. Various marketing, whether you are talking about traditional media, whether you're talking about digital media, whether you're talking about social media interfaces, at every point, you will find how these brands relate to customers. Only then you can say the equity is higher, right? There are certain drivers of equity which you can just go through it. Brand elements are simple to associate, and there are services which most of you talked about, what kind of pack of services and how we are augmenting that. And of course, sometimes it is also requires an endorsement from others, like influencers, right? Who do you use for talking about you? So they all can be put into for driving your equity. Yes, Prerna?
So what is a signage?
Sorry?
Signage, sir,
Signage, you must have heard about visual merchandising.
Yes, sir.
It's very simple. When you walk down the road, right? You see signages, right? A bank
Yes, sir.
signage or a mobile signage. What's their objective? Do they have to say something that what they are offering? No.
No,
It
sir.
is just a reminding.
To catch our attention.
Just to remind you. There's something called a recall
Yes, sir.
factor,
Okay, sir.
right?
Hmm.
You use different mediums to do that. In your print medium, you will talk more. In a television commercial, you'll talk less, but you'll give more visual impact, right?
Okay,
In a
sir.
digital ad also, you will create those keywords which they like to hear, so that they press that pop-up, and then you'll go ahead with the
Yes,
communication.
yes.
Are you getting me?
Yes, sir. Got it.
So, and I hope all of you know what jingles are and slogans are. I don't need
Yes,
to tell
sir.
that.
वो जो तना नाना pizza है free वो सब.
Choosing brand elements and devices, you have to. They are trademarked. What is trademarks? What is trademarking in branding?
The trademarking is registering and copywriting, like patenting something
Correct.
like which is exclusive to you.
Now, why is it important for branding? Why they need to be trademarked?
Because other brand can cheat and
Sir,
copy
so
our
that
branding technique.
copy कोई ना करे, the brand का
Okay.
authenticity बना
Okay,
रहे.
what will you do with services? What about music? What about the OTT platforms में जो आपका आता है?
Yes,
How
sir.
will-
Sir, in fact,
Sir,
music
सबका
can be
copyrights
music
रहता है.
lyrics can be
Copyrights
वो.
Right. So those things you are aware of. That's good. ठीक है?
Thank
They
you, sir.
also help you to strengthen your brand. If a trademark brand would always have a better say in the marketplace, right? Compared to an unprotected brand. Okay, brand at this I'm skipping you. This is very self-explanatory. I don't need to spend more time here. What is holistic marketing activities? Once you have created your brands, you have to integrate that into your marketing systems, right? So all the 4 dimensions of holistic marketing that we had covered, it needs to be looked into. And here thing is, how do you integrate them? How do you involve your own people? How do you increase your capability, right? And offer it to the customers, establish a good relationship, and track down the referrals, the word of mouth, the satisfaction scores. Everything needs to be mapped. Today, you will find that in any campaign, you can track how the brand is engaged with the customer.
Sir,
And keep
जैसे
it-
कोका-कोला ही they spread happiness उनका goal है.
Mhm.
तो उनका होलिस्टिक मार्केटिंग स्ट्रेटेजी बहुत सॉलिड रहता है कि दे ओनली फोकस ऑन हैप्पीनेस. उनके एड्स में भी फैमिली फंक्शन ये वो
Correct.
सब दिखाते हैं.
वो लोग वैसे भी एक्टिविटीज करते हैं. You must have heard of above the line, below the line activities which they do. So
Yes, sir, वो,
basically,
advertise करने के लिए.
हाँ,
Above the line, below the line.
मॉल्स में इवेंट्स छोटे छोटे
छोटे-छोटे
कॉन्टेस्ट
events.
करवाते हैं, फन
every
इवेंट्स.
brand does that. Every brand does that today. And it is not only that, okay, an FMCG, even a consumer durable, even a car. You must have seen road shows which keeps on happening in the airports, right? So they are done with a certain objective. It's not just out of context. Yeah? Is that
Yes,
clear?
sir. Yes, sir.
Then comes the associations. Secondary associations happens with, like with the brands. Some brands have country of origin. They have certain characters, like the Jaguar has the Jaguar, right, as an element. If you talk about the Zara, the store itself has a different identity. The McDonald's store has certain identity of itself. So when that gets accepted, it becomes a brand image. One thing you must all understand, what is the difference between a brand identity and a brand image? Can anybody tell me that?
Yes, a brand identity is what differentiates that brand from all other brands.
So what is
And
brand image?
brand image वो होता है which the customer has already portrayed in like his or her mind, which the वो जो what ब्रांड इमेज वो होता है सर जो देख के सपोज आई सी शैम्पू, उसको देख के मेरे माइंड में लाइक जो ख्याल बैठा है कि दिस इज अ नाइस प्रोडक्ट, दिस विल नरिश माय हेयर एंड स्टफ, सो दैट इज द इमेज. बट व्हाट डिफरेंशिएट्स लॉरियल्स शैम्पू फ्रॉम पैंटीन is the brand identity.
There is a slide. Anybody else would like to take a shot at that?
Sir, can I try?
Yeah.
Sir, brand identity is something that a company develops, like, you know, the logo, the assets, etc., on how to present their brand. And brand image is from the perspective of the outsiders, like the customers, about how they perceive the brand.
Okay. So the first, I would say yes. Susrit, Prerna, you heard what Susrit said?
Yes sir, yes sir. So does that mean कि brand identity is like how a brand is like उसका logo, उसका color, उसका outward
आप
appearance?
क्या decide करते हो as a company? What do you want to make your DNA of your brand?
Okay, okay, okay.
आप क्या उसमें कोड करना चाहते हो? उसकी कलर हो, उसका लोगो हो, वॉट एवर इट इज, द स्लोगन हो, वॉट एवर इट इज, द पैकेजिंग हो, वॉट एवर यू आर डूइंग, यू आर एनकोडिंग दैट फॉर द ब्रांड. एंड प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट entity with which you are going to the market and you are communicating, right? Now if there is any kind of a the imbalance there, it will lead to a wrong reading of the brand. So identity always flows from the company to the consumer. Is that clear? And as
Yes,
you
sir.
said, image is after you have experienced, after a customer has experienced, what do they perceive about it? Now, ideally, if you are a good marketer, your identity and your image should be coinciding. Isn't it?
Yes
I
sir.
always give the example of Maruti Omni. Remember in the class?
Yes sir.
Maruti Omni का क्या था? Family car, multi-utility vehicle.
जी
हुआ
सर.
क्या? हुआ क्या? How it was used? Kidnapping. Some of you say it's a kidnapping car.
Sir, more like ambulance, sir.
More of an ambulance. जैसे तुम्हारे
Robbery,
केस में कि हम लोग
चोरी
करते थे
चप्पा.
for taking you to the KIMS.
The Kim Fun ban is different, but yes.
हाँ, वो होता था कि नहीं? Many
Yes.
brands.
और सर ज्यादातर चोरी और theft, robbery वही vehicle को use करते.
In that case, many other brands can also be given examples. Okay. So
Yes sir.
कहने का मतलब ये है कि the way the brand is getting used by the consumer, अब ये सही हो रहा है, गलत हो रहा है, that is another question, right? You need to ask the product manager कि आपने क्या want कर देख के इसको लाया था? Where did you get the feedback that it should be a family needs this, right? And you have packed it into this offering. Now, you have communicated, you have offered it, but you find that the usage has been completely different. As a result, people are perceiving different usage out of it. So there's an imbalance. So what will happen to the brand image? The brand image will be on a different level and there will be a gap in the way the brand identity and the brand image is.
Identity and image.
Are you getting me?
Yes
As a
sir.
good marketer, it is your duty to find out these brand gaps. And in your successful, you have to allay those fears. If that gap is existing, you have to tell them, no boss, this is what it is. This is what the product stands for. This is not to be messed up with an ambulance. It's your duty to do that. Now, what do you do? Whether you do a blog, whether you put up a digital campaign, whether you run a commercial on the television, that's left to you. That is what communication is all about. You're allaying the fears. Remember when the Cadbury's, the classic thing which had happened with the packaging, fungus. Was it a problem of the company? No. It was a problem with the distributor or the dealer who had kept it.
Yes, sir.
Right? But the company had to take onus of that. They had to come back saying that, listen, we need, they brought in all these influencers like Amitabh Bachchan and so on and so forth to talk about their stamp of quality, their packaging. Remember?
Yes, sir. The
Yes, sir.
Amitabh
Yes,
Bachchan
sir.
factory ad, sir.
Why that was necessary? Because people
Sir,
perceive differently.
to gain back the trust in people once again by using a
And
bona fide
understand,
actor as well.
and once that image gets destroyed, it's very, very difficult to get it back. It's a very, very sensitive issue.
Yes, sir.
Got it?
Yes, sir. Like Maggie also, sir. When they were led and MSG case was raised.
Correct. Correct.
सर आईटीसी का भी सीजर्स में जैसे उन्होंने एक फादर और सन का फोटो दिया था, फादर और सन बैठ के स्मोक कर रहे थे, तो
Yeah. Understand cultural elements. आप किस culture में क्या बोल रहे हो? That also makes a lot of sense.
यस सर.
You cannot use wrong colors, wrong interpretations of symbols, motifs. ये सब होता है. There are certain limitations over there. If you're operating in the Gulf, you cannot show a women's, you have to show that वो जो पहनते ना, क्या बोलते उसको?
Hijab.
Hijab.
बुरखा.
Burqa
नहीं,
and all
hijab.
that. So how
Hijab.
line to that? You cannot go against that. So I'm a big brand, I'm Ole or whatever it is, and I will do it. No, you will be thrown out.
Sir, but one thing is there, sir, Privanshu, थोड़ा speak करना double होगा, हाँ. Sir, like Fem Bleach introduced showing a same-sex partner in their ad, and LGBTQ is legal in India. Sir, still they have to draw that ad because of social pressure. Why? But something which is legal in this country, and there are some people who do not approve of that. Still, they have to draw that ad down. So
I think this is like getting into a territory which can boomerang on you. Now, knowingly you want to get into it, you want to get a negative feedback from the market. That's your call. You want to do that consciously? That's your call. But as a prudent marketer, you would not like to tread into those areas unnecessarily because this is considered a taboo. Whether we support the LGBT community, the same-sex rights, or whatever it is, Supreme Court has given, but the mindset of Indian people is still there. It still has that as a taboo. There's enough amount of research which has happened on this particular cohort group across the globe. In other markets, you don't have so much of sensitivities. You talk about the United Colors of Benetton. Most of their ads, the brands, they consider them to be racist. But they say United Colors of, they try to, if I read it, I say it's an inclusive. But the brand has taken a toll in certain markets because they feel that you are talking about the tone of skin in your communication. So what is interpreted in a given market, as a marketer, you have to keep your ears, eyes open to that. Otherwise, your share of voice, SOV, what we call, is going to plummet. Are in for trouble. Okay. Internal branding is something to do with which is a HR perspective where you need to also include your employees into the system, right? They have to know, like today when you talk about Honda as a company, for example, right from the CEO till the workman, right? All are dressed in the same color of uniform, just to give an example. And they take pride in it. Why are you doing this? Because it builds in some kind of inequality. That's where the Oriental management culture comes in it. But you go to America, that will not work. So you got to be sensitive to those things. But how do you include people? Like Google is always voted as the most preferential place to work, where freedom, creativity comes, because if you don't provide that kind of an ecosystem, those people will never feel engaged. If they cannot feel engaged, can they prepare products and services for the end market, the end users? So sometimes your internal branding comes as a major focus, right? I will not get into measuring brand equity. There are various approaches. There are indirect, direct, financial. But most important thing is the one which is listed below. It's called the interbrand method. Why it is so preferred? If you see most of the rankings of the brand value that you see across the globe, it happens because of these, because they have the maximum amount of people who subscribe to them. As far as measuring brand equity is concerned or the brand value is concerned, there is no consistent pattern which is shown by any company that we follow a particular pattern. But Interbrand, which is a London-based, market research, is a marketing branding consulting firm. They are the ones who are involved in calculating the brand value. If you say Coke is $180 billion brand value, that means what? If you want to acquire Coke from the Coca-Cola, that's what it's going to cost you, right? It goes into the profit tax, the financial performance of the brand, the customer preference of the brand, the way it is being among all its competitors, what is its stability factors, what we call as a brand strength score. Based on that, it is worked out. So this is I would say the sixth one is a far more prudent choice. But apart from that, there are various agencies, which have come up with their own method of calculating. So I'll not get into those kind of things. You know what is brand extension, line extension?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You should know that. You should know what is individual branding. What do you understand by individual brand, separate family brand names? What's the family brand name? What is an individual brand name? What is a separate family brand name?
Individual branding is like when we say for Coca-Cola, if Coca-Cola is branding the Coca-Cola, the happiness campaign, they are branding their parent brand. But if they are branding their product like Thumbs Up or Sprite, it's the individual branding.
Okay. Whenever you give a unique brand name, right? That becomes an individual brand, and it always works out to. In mostly, you find in FMCG it has happened. If you see HUL, you will find most of the brands follow an individual branding. But of late, they have found that growing brands is a very, very expensive affair. And as there is a proliferation of brands, you also need to classify it under certain categories, right? So you come across something called family brand names. Like you just talked about the Maggie. Maggie talks about a certain category of related products under which you grow. And when you talk about extension as a strategy, what is extension? You are extending the brand name either within the product line or across the product line. Okay? When it is within the product line, that means there's a detergents, we are going for variants, you are extending the brand name, that is called line extension. But when you take it across other product categories, let's say from detergents to soaps to some other thing, right? Liquid cleaner, let's say, then you talk in terms of basically a brand extension. You have umpteen number of examples, take Lifebuoy, take your Dettol, all have, they've been able to extend their brands. But then point is, from a marketing perspective, it's very easy to get into an extension and create family brand names, or you can grow them as umbrella brands under one brand under which you can grow. Mostly it is done with corporate names, right? Like in case of Britannia, you're using Britannia name for all the various products that are coming in, and you're giving it a solid kind of an image because it has the company name. Everybody understands that it has got a better acceptance. The moment is a Britannia Marigold. If I take the Britannia out and put it in the marketplace, what will happen? Marigold is picked up by so many brands, isn't it? So it is likely to face difficulties. So it's the choice of, again, the brand manager, whether they want to associate with a corporate name while growing the brand. Most of the FMCG brands face the problem because when they brought the brands, they were very much strongly interconnected with the product categories that they represented. But beyond a point, they found that they could not go beyond certain product categories. That means the scope of branding was limited. As a result, what happened? The brand got saturated. At some point of time, those product categories changed, and there was a change in the marketplace. The brand met a ultimate death. So they had to revitalize the brand. There's a term called revitalization. That means what? You come up like this has happened with one brand called Synthol. Synthol was a very masculine driven brand. But today you see the focus is on it's meant for everybody. You must have seen in the ads also. The best way to look at it is take a particular brand, go to the archives and see what has happened. Right? Sub brand, you under one brand, you grow other brand. Like in case of your Titan, your Fast Track. Fast Track came into existence as a sub brand under Titan. But do you see that brand getting supporting from Titan today?
No, sir.
It will happen that when you first, होता ना जब तुम घर के बाहर निकलते हो तो पापा मम्मी तुम्हारे साथ रहते हैं, तुमको सपोर्ट करते हैं, राइट? बट वंस यू गेट यूज्ड टू इट, उसके बाद क्या बोलते हैं? तो तुम जाओ, तुम खुद काम करो. वही सेम लॉजिक यहाँ पे आता है. So you may introduce products or brands in the marketplace with a certain kind of a scaffolding, if I may use the word, a kind of a support in form of a sub brand. But nowhere does it say that you have to stay with it. You can further, as you move on, you may completely take it away. Another case in point, Nestle brands. You find Nestle always associates its name initially, but slowly it will take it out. Crack Jack is a very classic example of that. Right? If you talk about Cadbury's Bonvita, everybody knows Bonvita. They don't know Cadbury's. It is there as an element. Are you getting me? P&G brands, they consciously do not endorse their other brands. What they do, they put it as a soft corner in somewhere in the packaging. It comes as a blurb. So you know that it is related. It is called a shadow endorsement. It's a very weak endorsement, but it belongs to that. Another good thing is that of a weak endorsement, which is not, it's a moderate, I would say, like the McDonald's, like the Mac Tiki or the Mac Aloo. You're using the MC of that and you're using it in the brand extensions. Right? So you have certain amount of leverage that if you have built up a credibility, you can utilize this name as you go on. And the last point which has been mentioned here is something called these are like a branded house of brands and branded house. House of brand is something like your individual and family brand names. Whereas your branded house is something which your company brand name. That means what you grow under one name. That is called a branded house. House of brands, as the name suggests, number of brands are there. So you will find that the way you manage these brands becomes different. You have to have a different approach. Right? I know there are many things which are still there. I think we have come to, okay, one more important point is that while you are framing your brand identity, you should know about brand personality. What is brand personality? It helps you to map your brand with the target audience. So what are the variables that we talk about? According to our research module, this is the Jennifer Ackers framework. We looked into these 5 points: sincerity, excitement, competence, sophistication, ruggedness. If you look into these 5 factors and try to work out what kind of a personality we want to track or want to factor into a brand, you can take care of the brand personality. For example, Marlboro has got masculinity, has got ruggedness, right? So they've taken that.
Sir,
Yeah.
Marlboro was a female cigarette brand, but
It was introduced, it backfired.
okay.
So it's never say that you cannot go back to your drawing boards again. Are you getting me?
Yes,
You're
sir.
right. It was meant for girls, but for the women segment, but it may not. Maybe those at that point of time, the women smokers were less in number, they were not sensitive to this. Right? Maybe that may not be the situation today. But when you are creating a personality, it's very difficult to come out of it. You say that, okay, like Prerna said, Coke is for open happiness. Pepsi is for younger generation. Thumbs up is for people with lot of drive and who want to take the life by the
Well,
right?
high on OCL scale, sir.
Whatever. But what is the product? It is the same old carbonated drink.
The carbonated caffeinated drink.
Absolutely. But each of these brands have a different meaning to different people. And that you have consciously done that. It is consciously done by the brand manager to create that difference in the marketplace. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
So that's pretty much it. I hope I've been able to give you, I know I've been very fast, but there are a lot many things. I would share this thing. I would ask, Amit to share this thing with you. You have any doubts, come over and talk to me. No problem.
Sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other observation or any questions you would like to ask?
No,
I'm
sir.
sorry.
We will also have our offline classes, right?
Of course.
Offline classes for what? For product and brand?
Yes, sir. PBM.
Product brand management, I guess.
हाँ, वो classes next week से शुरू हो रही है.
हाँ, okay.
Okay.
सर मुझे लगा खाली ऑनलाइन. सर मुझे लगा खाली ऑनलाइन होगा, तो वापस ऑनलाइन वाला फील आ रहा है.
क्लासिक
हाँ, तुम तो अपना शक्ल तक भी नहीं दिखा रहे हो मेरे को.
ज्यादा लग रहा है इसको.
कोई आके देखता भी नहीं है.
मैं तो हूँ, आपने मुझे कभी
अजय को रास्ते में देखती है. हेलो, हाय सर. बाकी सब एक ही बदमाश हो, सब बदमाश हो.
सर आज शाम को ही तो आपको गुड क्या हाय
क्या बोला?
गुड इवनिंग बोला था ना मैंने आपको शाम.
सुन, कुछ बोलते वक्त ना ठीक से बोला तो मुझे सुनाई नहीं देता. मैं बुढ़ा हो चला हूँ.
सर मैं बोली शाम तो मैं आपको देखी वो फैकल्टी केबिन में गुड इवनिंग भी बोला.
तो मैं बोला
तो उधर देखा चेहरा. फिर अभी क्या
कोई आके मुझे पूछता तो है.
बदमाश प्रेरणा है सर.
Okay, guys. I think I hope I've been able to give you some inclination, but these are fundamentals. Whatever I have told you, these are all fundamentals. But if you have any kind of doubt, do come over. I know there will be a lot of areas of doubt, because branding as a subject is emerging which is evolving till now. When we talk about brand relevance, there is something called brand value chain. How brand moves from a marketing scope to a function, a kind of a financial as an asset, how it is moving up that value chain. You got to understand that. So that's what we will be covering in the product and brand management classes. Then we do something called a brand audit. You take a brand and try to read every aspect of the brand. When you say brand audit, it means that it's the health of the brand. You may have a Berger paint, which is the number one in some other market, but in Bhubaneswar market, it may not be the number one. It may not be. It may be moderate market. Some local brand is taking the code. So what is the health of that brand? So you need to carry out those studies to understand what it is all about. Yeah?
yes sir.
Yes, sir.
Rest of the people have all got into a...
They might have gone for the dinner, sir. Actually, it's getting late.
Sir, dinner
Okay.
actually
Okay, good night.
First time is 9:30.
Have your lunch. Sorry, dinner. हाँ, कुछ लोग तो तुम लंच अभी खाते हो. तुम लोग दिन में तो खाते नहीं हो.
Yes, sir. Me.
Yeah, I know many such
सर
instances.
अजय डाइटिंग है. सर अजय डाइट कर रहा है, खा नहीं रहा
तू
है.
ज्यादा डाइटिंग मत कर. अपने हेल्थ को रख. पहले नौकरी मिल जाए, फिर जाके जो करना कर.
नहीं सर,
And
कम
all the best for your placements which are coming up, and those who have got, congratulations. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes sir, thank you sir.
Okay. Feel free to interact with me on branding issues. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes sir.
Sure, sir. Thank you,
Yes.
sir. Good night,
you,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good night. Amit, are you there?